$45,000 in just 3 days. That is what one of our stores, as you can see right here, has done in the past 3 days. It's $45,000, as you can see right here. It's all real in just the last 3 days. Now, how are we able to generate results like this? Also, before I jump right into it, let me just refresh this for the people who are skeptical. And, it is good to be skeptical because there are a lot of phonies out there. So as you can see, we refresh this. Same results as you can see across all 3 days. $45,000. How are we able to do this? The result is because of our Facebook ads. I've been running ads for about 8 years now almost, and I know exactly how ads work. I've been where most beginners are when they start. You don't know what to do. You don't know how to run your ads. You don't know what strategy to use. You launch your ad, you create your campaign, you put money behind it, you're excited, but guess what? There are no sales. So in this video, I'm going to give you guys the best strategy out there for testing your Facebook ads. This is not just going to be a strategy video where it's create a campaign, create this. I'm going to go all in depth. I'm going to give you exactly how ads work, how Facebook testing works, what are the things you should be focusing on, why your ads work, why your ads don't work. And then I'll tell you exactly how to set up your ads in a way that you get sales like this. Again, you can see $45,000. Now, as I said, this is a client store. If you are someone who's struggling with the store or you want to get started with dropshipping, maybe you have a store, you're not getting sales, whatever it is, if you want our help, click the first link in the description, book a free call with me. I'd be more than happy to help you out. With that being said, before I jump right into it, make sure you leave a like, make sure you subscribe to the channel right now, and let's jump right into it. So first and foremost, let's talk about when it comes to testing. If you don't know what testing is basically the phase where you figure out what works and what doesn't. If you don't know what works and what doesn't, if you keep playing guesswork, which is what most beginners do, you're going to end up losing money, and therefore you'll end up with no successful ads. So the first phase that you should be focusing on with launching any product is the testing phase. Now, there are a couple of things that I want you to keep in mind when it comes to testing. You need to first understand what is worth testing. Now, when it comes to ads, a lot of people obsess over their audiences and all the other fancy stuff, but the reality is that 70 to 80% of your results only come down to 4 things, right? The 4 things that you need to focus on if you want to get results is number 1, your product. Number 1, the offer of your product. Number 3, the sales angle that you're running. And number 4, your creative. These are the only 4 things that will move a needle. And these are the 4 things that will get you almost 80% of the result. So everything else, such as your targeting, your placements, your storefront, all of it doesn't matter as much. All of that only accounts for about 20%. 80% of your sales, 80% of your results come from these 4 things, which is the product. If your product doesn't solve a problem or has an emotion-evoking factor to it, it's not going to do well. The second thing is your offer. Your offer doesn't have urgency and scarcity to it. People are not going to be enticed enough to click on it. The third thing that matters in getting results is your angle. This is what your story is. This is what your sales angle is. And this includes your hook, what you sell, your emotional angles. And the fourth thing that matters is your creative. Your video ad is one of, if not the most important factors when it comes to Facebook ads, especially in 2025 and moving forward. So those are the 4 things that are worth testing, and those are the only 4 things that you want to focus on. Now, let's get into the core testing principles for your ads. I'm going to be talking about some certain rules that you need to have in place if you want to run successful ads. As you can see, I'm not just jumping into one campaign, one this, one that. All of that is brain dead if you don't understand why you're doing it. And that is why I'm diving deep into it and giving you exactly what makes successful ads. So let's talk about the core principles, the core rules for testing. And these are universal. If you break them, you're not going to get sales. The first core rule for testing and having profitable ads is you want to isolate one variable at a time. What this basically means is if you're testing audiences, keep the creatives the same. If you're testing creatives, keep the audience the same. And if you're testing certain age group, keep everything the same. What I basically mean is whatever aspect you want to test, make sure there's only one variable. If you're testing the creatives, everything else across the board should be the same with your ad. If you're testing age, everything else should be the same across the board for your ad. Only test one aspect of your ad at a time. Now, why this is important is because if you do not test only one variable at a time, your testing basically fails the whole point of it because you won't know what works and what doesn't. If you have 2 or 3, let's say, for example, if you're testing your one of the interests and you're also testing creatives, when you do get the data for the ad, you won't be able to tell why the data is the way it is. Why did one ad perform better and why the other performed bad? Because you have multiple things that were done differently. So across the board, only test one variable. The second principle and the second core rule is you always want to group your creatives by format. What this basically means is inside each campaign, only have one format of creative. So if you have a campaign, only have videos in it. For the other campaign, only have pictures in it. If you want to test static and videos for one campaign, test all static. For the other campaign, test all videos. Now, this is because Facebook favors some placements more than the others. And this, because we're testing, we need to figure out what works the best and what doesn't. And there needs to be no room for error. The third principle that I want you to implement, and this is something that I don't see anyone really talk about, it is you want to budget for at least 1 to 2 conversions per ad set per day. To help you understand, let's say if your cost per purchase is around $50, don't run an ad with $10 a day budget. That is going to hurt the performance and you're not going to see any sales. If you want to grow and if you want to consistently keep getting sales, if your cost per purchase is $50, the budget for the ad set should be $100, right? So you want to cost for at least 1 to 2 conversions based on your cost per purchase. If your cost per purchase is around $30, the budget should be $60 or at least somewhere around $40 to $60. Now, the fourth principle is you want to always give your ads 3 to 5 days before judging and before making a decision. This is a huge one because as beginners, as people who are just getting into dropshipping, I'm sure you have a feeling of angst when you launch your ads and you're spending money, but you're not seeing any results. You want to turn it off. You want to save some money. But understand this, Facebook needs time to figure out what works and what doesn't. If you, after 5 hours, after 1 day, after 2 days of running the ad, immediately turn it off because you're losing money, you will never be able to test effectively. So you always want to let your ads run for at least 3 days, at least 72 hours, but preferably if you have enough budget and enough room, also let it run for 5 days and then make the decision if you should keep it or if you should kill it. The next core principle and rule that I want you to understand is that if your ad set is not spending money, that doesn't mean it's a bad ad set. What this basically means is that if you have a CBO campaign, your budget is obviously distributed across multiple ad sets. So sometimes Facebook might just favor one creative or one ad set, and that doesn't mean all the others are bad. There have been instances, for example, we'll have a campaign, it's spending a lot of money. What I've done is I've duplicated the whole campaign, taken out all the ad sets that were spending most of the money, and then kept running the others that didn't spend as much money, and we found some good winners. So what this means is if your ad set is not spending a lot of money or Facebook is not pushing a lot of money to that one specific ad set in a CBO campaign, that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad ad set. So don't just ignore them or kill those ad sets. Now, the last rule that I want you to know if you want to run profitable ads, and this is the golden rule, is if it's working, leave it alone. I know it's tempting to always tweak something. You want to change your budget, you want to change this, you want to change that because you think you'll get better results. But if it's working, do not fix it. If it's not broken, don't fix it. If it's doing well, just let it be. Even sometimes if you just duplicate a winning ad set, that is going to hurt the performance as well. There's a certain way of doing that. I'll go that in some other video when it comes to scaling. But if it's working, do not break it. Once you understand these core principles and these core rules and you operate your Facebook ads based on these, that's 80% of your job done, right? Now, let's get into more interesting stuff. So, testing ads, there's a lot of variables. Big thing is understanding, should you be running an ABO or a CBO campaign and which is better, right? This is going to dictate the structure of your ads, and this is also going to dictate the results for the majority of the part because this is the approach that you take to testing each product. Now, first of all, let me break down what each of these are. If you don't know what CBO campaign stands for, you're just a beginner, let me explain. CBO campaign is basically campaign budget optimization. What this means is you'll give the whole campaign a certain budget and you can have as many ad sets as you want in the campaign. Facebook will take the whole campaign budget and spend it across the ad sets. It'll see which ad set performs better and allocate budgets differently. Now, when it comes to ABO campaign stands for ad set budget optimization. What this basically means is you decide how much money each ad set spends. Think of it basically as driving a manual car. You decide when to change your gear, you decide how to drive it, you have full control over it. Now, there's pros and cons to each. If you ask me which one is better, there's not really a one cookie cutter answer to it. There's a lot of nuances to it, but let me help you understand under what circumstances is one or the other better. So if you're just starting out and want a clean, simple way of testing, ABO is amazing because you can control everything. But if you want Facebook to help you test products effectively, CBO is the way to go. And honestly, if you ask me in the recent days, CBO is the best way to go because Facebook's AI is so smart, the algorithm is so smart at figuring out the best audiences. You coming in the way of that is only going to affect the results and the performance of your ads. So honestly, if you're just getting started, you don't know much about targeting, I will just recommend you go with CBO testing. And in the next step, I'm actually going to show you strategies for both ABO and CBO. So that is what ABO, CBO is. That's the difference. Now let's get into testing setups or those testing strategies that actually work. And I'll be giving you 3 setups, so 3 structures for testing products, and you can use whatever fits your need the best. Now, before I jump right into it, if you watched so far, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I've been putting out, if you see the channel, I've been putting out some amazing, highly valuable information out there. Make sure you leave a subscribe so I can put out more such content. With that being said, let's get into the 3 ad setups that you should use to test your products effectively. The first setup is going to be a single ad set CBO campaign. Now, it is as simple as it sounds. It's one campaign, it's one ad set, and in the ad set, you're going to be testing 3 to 5 ads. Super simple, super straightforward. It's perfect if you're a beginner with a smaller budget. And the pros of it is that it's easy to manage. Its spend is consolidated as well, so you know exactly where the money is going because there's only one ad set. And it's very easy to figure out what works and what doesn't. The second setup that I want you to test, or that I recommend, that works really well, and we've tested all of these. Again, we've done, almost $50,000 in 3 days. We've been running ads for 7, 8 years. So this is golden information that we've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to figure out, and I'm giving it away to you for free. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you have a store, you need help, you're struggling with something, book a call with me, first link in the description. But coming back to the point, the second setup that I recommend you use to test products effectively is a multi-ad set CBO. So this is how it works. It's one CBA campaign, multiple ad sets in it, and each ad set has about 3 ads, right? This is best for testing angles or different audiences. Again, because you have a lot more ad sets, you can test different variables, you can test different audience marketing, you can test different creative selling angles. You have a lot more room for testing, and this is going to speed up the process of you actually finding a winner. Now, the con of using this campaign structure is Meta might skew spend the wrong way, and changes will throw off the whole balance. So again, because it is distributed across multiple campaigns, multiple ad sets, it is going to spend differently based on the performance, and that might throw off the performance of each ad effectively. So the third campaign that I recommend you test, the third setup, is an ABO testing campaign. What this basically means is you'll have multiple ad sets, you'll have an ABO campaign, you'll have multiple ad sets, each with their own budget and each testing independently. This is the most scientific, if you want to call it, scientific way of testing ads, because you have control over everything. There's nothing that is out of your control. And if you have good money to spend on ads, this is a great way of testing your creative, because you can control every little part of it, even if everything from the spending to how the ads actually are delivered. You can control everything. It's great. It's super clean setup. It's also very scalable. However, the only disadvantage, or a con if you want to call that, is you have to manually keep controlling every aspect of the campaign. But if you know what you're doing, this is an amazing way of going about it. So now that you have different testing setups to test your products, let me tell you some of the biggest mistakes most dropshippers make when it comes to testing, and why they never are profitable or effective with their testing. So avoid these mistakes. The first one is tiny budget ABO campaigns. A $10 a day ad set when your cost per purchase is $50 is not really going to get you any results. So you need to up your budget based on your cost per purchase. The next mistake is having one giant testing CBO. What this basically means is people, I've seen a lot of dropshipping beginners, they'll keep adding new ad sets into the same campaign, and every time you do that, you reset the balance, you confuse the algorithm, and the whole performance plummets, because now Facebook has to start from scratch because there's a new ad set, and the budget now has to be distributed differently across each ad set. So never, if you have a CBO campaign that you've been running for a while, never just add a new ad set to it. Create a new campaign and then go about it differently. The third biggest mistake that I see most beginners make when it comes to testing is you graduate winners the wrong way. What this basically means is you never close a profitable ad set. I've seen so many people do this. They'll have an ad set that's really profitable. They'll duplicate it and then turn off the one that was doing really well. And it doesn't really make any sense to me. So you never want to close a profitable ad set, and never dump your winning ad sets into a CBO that's already working. You'll break it, your results will plummet, and you'll lose money. What you want to do is you always graduate winning ad sets into a fresh campaign or a new ad set, and that is the way to go about it. Make sure you don't make these mistakes. I've seen so many people lose a lot of money and lose profitable ad sets to these mistakes. Now, the next thing, and this is more of a mindset understanding when it comes to Facebook ads, and I want to talk about this, and I call this the snow globe mindset. So here is how I want you to think of Meta's algorithm when it comes to testing. You want to look at Meta ads as a snow globe. Now, what this basically means is every time you edit, you change budgets, you add ads, you duplicate campaigns, you're shaking the snow globe. This means snow will fly everywhere, and that is volatility, right? So every time you make a change, you're going to mess up all the things that were already working, already in place. But when you leave the snow globe alone and you don't keep shaking it, it's going to settle. The algorithm stabilizes, and that is when your campaigns perform. So move smartly, make small intentional changes, then wait, observe, give it the time, give Facebook the time it needs to perform. You learn from the data, and then you build a profitable ad. That is the way to go about testing. That is the way how you have profitable ads, and that is how we are able to, as you can see on the screen, get results like this. These results don't just come overnight. We've been doing it for 8 years now, and we understand how Facebook ads work. So if you are someone who's getting started, I don't want you to spend 8 years trying to figure out how to run profitable ads. And that is where we come in. If you have a store, you're struggling with it, you don't know how to get sales, or if you don't have a store and you're trying to get into dropshipping, but you don't know where to start, you don't have experience, book a free call with me. The link is in the description. I'll hop on a call with you. I'll tell you exactly how we can help you. If you have a store, I'll tell you exactly how to improve it. It's a free consulting call. There's literally nothing to lose. On the call, we'll go over everything from your store, your ads, your marketing, whatever you're struggling with, I'll help you with it. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you leave a like, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.